Shalom, shalom. I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge Al-Akyam, who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is the brother Shabai from the GMS Denver camp. And I'm going to read Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, in the Apocrypha. I'm going to read the 39th chapter, and just it's a beautiful chapter, and I'm just going to pull precepts off this chapter. Okay, it says, "But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies." Okay, so this picture right here, I just chose this picture because these brothers are, it looks like one brother on the left is teaching the brother on the right, and this is what an example of being seeking out the wisdom of all the ancient. Okay, you got to go to the proper men to learn the truth, to get salvation. To get salvation, you have to go to the Lord's true teachers. Okay, you can't go to a pagan Christian church or a Catholic church or a Mormon church or a Kingdom Hall of the Jehovah's Witnesses and expect to receive salvation, and to expect to learn the truth. Okay, you get into any of those spots, they're not going to be talking about prophecies. Our elders always talk about how pagan Christians don't understand prophecy, and they don't. All right, they don't understand prophecies. So you want to seek the wisdom of all the ancient, you have to go to the proper teachers. Okay, it says right here, verse 2, "He will keep the sayings of the renowned men." Okay, "and where subtle parables are, he will be there also." You see this gentleman on the right, this brother on the right, he is, and they got a chariot in the background. There's a chariot. Those are the angels of Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahawashi. But if you're listening to the pagan Christians or these other, false doctrines, they're going to tell you that that's the Anunnaki, or that's green men, or they're green aliens, little short gray aliens, No, those are the angels in those chariots, what the world ignorantly calls UFO. So again, you got to go to the proper teachers, otherwise you won't have no understanding on the truth, or the true doctrine, sound doctrine. See, this brother on the left, he's teaching the brother on the right sound doctrine. Okay, you see how the other brother's listening attentively. You see, showing respect to his teachers, right? Or his teacher in this place, in this picture. He will keep the sayings of renowned men, and where subtle parables are, he will be there also. Okay, so this is where he is. This man could be anywhere in the world, but look, they're together, teaching each other, prophesying, telling him the truth, teaching him the truth. Okay, it reminds me of a precept in Acts, the 8th chapter. Okay, let's grab that. I'm gonna grab it real quick. Let's see here. And it says, this is Philip, okay? Speaking to the Ethiopian who was in a chariot, and a horse and chariot. And he was reading the scriptures, the so-called Ethiopian, because he was actually an Israelite. That's another thing. Christian will read Acts 8 and say, oh, that's talking about Ethiopian. Well, guess what? You got to understand the scriptures. That's an Ethiopian, but by citizenship, he's an Ethiopian. But in the book of Acts, the Ethiopian that's spoken of is actually an Israelite who was scattered in Ethiopia. Okay, he was being raised up in a culture of Ethiopia. As the part of the curses, the Israelites, we are scattered among all nations. So you got to remember that when you read the scriptures. And this is another thing the pagan Christians, they don't understand or they don't teach. They're going to take it for face value. They're going to read that it says Ethiopian, and they're going to say, oh yeah, this is an Ethiopian. Not understanding that the Ethiopian is an Israelite. And probably if the Most High, Yahawahs, documented that so-called Ethiopian in the scriptures, probably a man of the elect. You see? So you can't take everything at face value. You have some things you have to learn, like we were just reading. It says subtle parables. This is a subtle parable. It just says Ethiopian in Acts 8 chapter, but it's actually talking about an Israelite. But if you're not, the Holy Spirit's not dealing with you, and you don't understand subtle parables, you're not going to have the wisdom of the ancient. You're going to be sitting there listening to some pork chop eating pastor in the pulpit, and he's going to be talking about, oh yeah, Ethiopia, all these Ethiopians can be saved, and the heathen nations can be saved, and this, that, and the other. No. You have to go to the true teachers, To have the truth, you have to go to the true teachers, right? So there's men who have a Holy Spirit dealing with them. And remember, I always tell you, holy is set apart. So there's a teachers that have been set apart in the Spirit by Yahawahs to endure sound doctrine and to teach sound doctrine. And you have to, and this is the point I was, going to get at for Acts chapter 8. Let me see. You have to be guided in this knowledge, okay? And you got to be guided by the true teachers. You can't just go anywhere and get the truth, okay? And we'll start at Acts 8 and 29. It says, Then the Spirit said unto Philip, Go near and join thyself to his chariot. Talking about go and join himself in the chariot with the Ethiopian, the so-called Ethiopian. It says, And Philip ran thither to him, and heard him read the prophet Isaiah, and said, Understandest thou what thou readest? So Philip saw him in the chariot, horse and chariot. He saw him and he said, Hey, do you understand what you're reading? And Philip joined him in the chariot because the Spirit jumped on him to go teach that man. And it says in verse 8, and this is the point. Acts 8 and 31. It says, because remember, Philip just said, Hey, do you understand what you're reading? And then Acts 8 and 31, the Ethiopian, who was an Israelite, it says, And he said, How can I, except some man should guide me? And he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him. You see that? So the Ethiopian, who was an Israelite in Acts chapter 8, he could have had a proud spirit like a lot of these Christians and a lot of these Hebrew Israelites also. They think they know it all. But in this situation, the man who was scattered in Ethiopia, he had a humble spirit. He said, How can I understand this unless somebody guides me? See? And that's what you're seeing here in this picture. This brother on the left is guiding the brother on the right, expounding on the scriptures, expounding on the dark sentences, the parables, the dark sayings, right? Let's read verse 3 and back to Ecclesiasticus. It says, He will seek out the secrets of grave sentences and be conversant in dark parables. You see that? That's a perfect depiction of what's happening in this picture, in this image. these brothers are going in on dark parables, you know. This brother on the right is learning the secrets of the grave sentences, meaning the dark sentences, you know. Which, like I said, again, you can't go to pagan Christianity. You can't go to Catholicism and get the wisdom of the ancient or understanding in secrets of the grave sentences, right? Or be conversant in dark parables. Only the men of Yahawah are going to provide that sound, true doctrine. Okay? That's why our people are so lost in the sauce when it comes to the scriptures. You know, all over the place. Oh, some are calling him Yah. Some are calling him Yahuwah. Some are calling him Yahweh. Some are calling him, you know, the Son. They call Yahawah Yeshua. They call him Jesus. No, it's Yahawah the Father, Yahawah the Son. You see? But if you don't go to the true teachers, if you don't have a humble spirit, a spirit to learn, a spirit of the elect, then guess what? You're going to be contentious. You're going to be offended. And that's a characteristic of the elect. We know that when we teach the elect, they're going to endure, they're going to receive, they're going to absorb sound doctrine. Okay? Look at this brother's face. Look how attentive he is, you know? Look at this brother. He's breaking something down for him. And this brother, he's not acting like he's a know-it-all. His mouth is closed and he's listening to this brother on the left, you know? And this is what it is. You know, there's that saying, you know, Yahweh gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Especially when you come to the men of the Lord, you should listen more than talk, right? Let's go to Ecclesiastes real quick to get a precept on that. Let me see here if I can remember. I think it's Ecclesiastes 5. Yeah, Ecclesiastes 5:1, it says, "Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of the Most High." And remember, the men of the Lord are the house. We're the church. So when this brother on the right, he's going to sit down with this brother on the left, and this is literally the house of Yahweh, because the men are the church. Okay? So when it says, "Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of the Most High, Yahweh, and be more ready to hear than to give sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil." Okay? So this brother is listening. He's not interrupting. He's not speaking over him. You know, a true disciple, a true sincere spirit of the elect is going to just want to listen to an elder or listen to a man who is above you in the knowledge. Okay? You can't learn if you're sitting there being contentious, or you want to argue about what the name is, or you want to, you know, tell them what you know about the Anunnaki, you know. No, you just got to shut the F up and listen to the teacher, okay? You wouldn't go into Esau's colleges and sit there and you know, try and outdo the professor. That's the same thing with this ministry. You should be in a humble, contrite spirit if you want to learn, if you want to actually, you know, be taught sound doctrine. You know, if you want to be explained by the men of Yahawah, it takes a humble spirit. And it doesn't matter if you've been in some other church for 10, 20, 30 years. You got to throw that out the window. And the elect it's going to resonate. You know, the truth, when they hear the true doctrine, they're going to be like, "Oh, snap. That makes sense. Oh, when I read that, I was unclear on the meaning. But now somebody's guiding me and I understand." You see? And that's the spirit of the elect. So the prophets, we have a spirit of discernment, and it's easy. The spirit of discernment just comes from the scripture. We test the spirits by the Spirit. Right? We test your spirit. If we're teaching somebody and they're not getting it, guess what? We're going to either dismiss them, tell them to move on, go up the street. But if their spirit is looks like they're receiving the truth, then yeah, we'll work with the brother, you know. We'll sit there and expound, you know, on these dark sentences, these grave sentences, you know. So let me see if I can grab a precept real quick. I'm gonna go to 1 John 4:1. Okay, let me see here. Let me pull it up on my screen here. 1 John 4:1. It says, "Beloved," which when John is talking to beloved, he's talking to the elect. He's addressing the elect. Okay, it says, "Believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of the Most High, because many false prophets are gone out into the world." You see? So a lot of these spirits out here, they're teaching according to the world. They're teaching according to doctrines of devils, doctrines of men. Okay? So the elect men who Yahweh B'Shem Yashai have set up, we have a spirit of discernment. We can look at you, and just by your body energy or your the way you're moving, we can say, "Yo, this dude is bugged out. This guy's not of the elect. Get him out of here." We don't need to teach no 2/3. We don't need to teach a heathen, you know. It says in verse 2, John 4:2, 1 John 4:2. It says, "Hereby know ye the Spirit of the Most High, Yahweh. Every spirit that confesseth that Yahweh Shai Mashiach is come in the flesh is of the Most High." So only the elect are going to confess Yahweh Shai Mashiach. You know, you got these people who are still under cracker Jesus. Guess what? You're not. That's a by default. We know you're not the elect. If you can't receive the true names, Yahweh, like you see in the picture right here on the book, you don't know that name right there. That's the true name. Okay, and you're saying, "Oh, he's got many names, Yahweh, God." But you see, you coming at wicked ass spirit, trying to bring confusion, trying to teach other Israelites the false names, when the Lord has set up His true prophets. And even that's a stumbling block. The prophets. Because men will be like, "You know what? How do you guys know you got the truth?" Well, guess what? It's spiritual. We start at the names, right? That's the foundation. Yahweh Shai is the foundation, right? If you can't receive Yahweh Shai, then guess what? For us, it's easy. We look at you like, okay, this dude's not of the elect. Simple as that. You can't receive the foundation, then you just told us who you are. You're not the elect. Okay? Like this brother right here on the right, obviously they're teaching, this brother on the left is teaching the true name, right? The Bible that they're holding say Yahweh. They don't say other false names, you know? And this brother right here, he's listening. Let's say this brother on the left just taught him the name. This brother, if he was not of the elect, he would have got up, left, or he might have argued for about 20 minutes, and then left, all mad, all upset. But instead, in this image, you see this brother is listening. He's listening to the teacher. You know, the teacher is telling him the true name. The teacher is telling him sound doctrine. You see? Let's read verse 4. It says, "He shall serve among great men and appear before princes. He will travel through strange countries, for he hath tried the good and the evil among men." And that's what it is, trying every spirit by the Spirit. The teachers that Yahweh B'Shem Yashai has set up, we have the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yashai, whether you want to believe it or not, whether you like it or not. There are men that Yahweh B'Shem Yashai have set up, you know, to feed you with knowledge and understanding, right? And I'm quoting Jeremiah 3:15. Okay? So we have the Spirit to discern, you know. We travel, it says we travel through strange countries, right? And really, America is a strange country, because this place is, it's strange to Yahweh Hashem Yeshai. The people here, the majority of these people, they don't call on the Yahweh Hashem Yeshai. They don't endure sound doctrine. So this makes this place a strange country. And literally, I'm traveling right now. I came to Arizona this weekend. Been a beautiful day so far. I've been here since yesterday. Got a chance to, hold camp with the Arizona brothers, Arizona camp. Shout out to the Arizona camp. You see, got a chance to sit with them at their New Moon Council. And it was Yahawah. It was Yahawah being among the other brothers who are like-minded, who are in the truth, who are enduring, and that's what this lesson is about: enduring and learning sound doctrine, and talking about these great men. Who are the great men? The great men are the Lord's 144,000, his teachers that he set up, the men of ancient, right? The sanctified ones. You see, we're sanctified by this ministry, by this truth. What cleanses us? What cleanses us, Salakia? What cleanses us? This ministry does, brothers. You see? But again, you got to go to the true teachers. You can't be cleansed in the pagan Christian church. No matter how many times they dip you in the water in their baptisms, if you're not enduring sound doctrine, you're not being cleansed, and you're not being baptized in the Holy Spirit. The word baptized, it means to be submerged, okay? So when we're going into these scriptures, like right now, if you look at this brother on the right in the picture, he's getting baptized. He's submerging himself in the truth. He's dealing with a sound doctrine. He's dealing with the guy on the left is teaching sound doctrine. He's not telling him, you can call him any name you want, or everybody in the world can be saved, or you can wear whatever you want if you're a man. You teach the truth. You don't just speak the words that are going to make the people happy. You got to teach the truth, because we already know that people are going to be offended in the sound, true doctrine. Okay? And only the elect have that spirit to endure and receive, and they're not going to be contentious when it comes to the truth of the scriptures. Instead, they're going to grow in the spirit. They're going to, even if it takes chastisement, even if it takes losing your so-called friends in this world, so-called family in this world. The true family are the ones who are in the same spirit of Yahawah Bahashem Yahawashi. Okay, let's keep reading here. I'm gonna cut it short here. Almost, I'll probably stop around 30 minutes because I got to get some things done here. Out here in Arizona, trying to get my workout in. I'm gonna go ride my mountain bike. I brought it with me, so I'm looking forward to that. Call out Yahweh Bashem Yashai for allowing me to bring my bike out here and ride it in Arizona in the desert. You see? So anyway, let's see. It says here in verse 5, he will give his heart to resort early to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai that made him, and will pray before the Most High, will open his mouth in prayer and make supplication for his sins. Okay? And resorting early, meaning we get in this understanding and this knowledge before everyone else. Right? And this brother right here on the right, he's getting it early, and he's getting it by the true teacher. So, again, you have to go to the true teachers to enter into the kingdom of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You have to go to the gates of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, okay? Which are we believe with faith and through the Holy Spirit, the men of GMS That's where the true knowledge lies with. The Lord has set up men on the planet Earth. Elder Apostle Tahar, Elder Apostle Gabar, Elder Apostle Ramlab, Elder Apostle Rakar, you know. These are the leaders of Israel. And the Lord has set them up, man. And it's all branched out into all the camps, you know. From Elder Apostle on down, GMS had the truth. 100% truth. Okay? And even that's a stumbling block, because you got scoffers and mockers and doubters. Oh, you guys don't have nobody has 100% truth. Nobody did. Well, how can you have 100%? No, man, we got 100% truth. And if you're of the elect, your spirit is gonna recognize, and your spirit is gonna believe, and your spirit's gonna have faith to understand and know who holds this true knowledge, who holds the true names. Okay. And if you're a new brother, like let's say this guy on the right, he's new, this fairly new, you know, he's still a little green, right? He's a little wet behind the ears. You know, these are all terms for somebody who's new in something, right? But he's growing in the spirit, and who's gonna help you grow? The teachers. All right, the true prophets. It says, verse 6, Ecclesiastes 39:6, when the great Yahweh Shemashai's will, he shall be filled with the spirit of understanding. He shall pour out wise sentences and give thanks unto Yahweh Shemashai in his prayer. You see that? So this brother on the right, he's getting that spirit of understanding, and because why? Because he's with the true teacher. He's with the man who knows the true names. He's with the man who's breaking down the scriptures properly. And look at behind him, there's a chariot. We know through the Spirit, and we know the chariots show up at the camps of GMS. Matter of fact, again, shout out to the brothers in Arizona. We were at camp, and a beautiful chariot pulled up, man. One of the brothers got a video. It was incredible, you know. It was an incredible video of a chariot, okay? But this kind of thing don't happen to false teachers or false, you know, the pagan Christian church. When the last time you went to a pagan Christian church, you go outside and the chariot's just right there amongst them? It don't happen. This is for the men, man. This is confirmation, man. When we go out, like I'm from Denver, GMS Denver. I come out to the Arizona camp, and lo and behold, I'm with the brothers. I'm with the right teachers. The chariot was in the sky last night or yesterday. You see? These brothers right here, these brothers got a chariot in the sky, you know, and this is just an AI image, but we do these things because this is the type of stuff that happens to us when we're out there teaching. And you can mock and scoff all you want, but we know the truth, and we know that, hey, the Most High Yahweh Shai sends his chariots to our camps, okay? When's the last time the chariot showed up at Creflo Dollar's church, or fucking T.D. Jakes, or Joel Osteen? They don't even talk about the chariots, you know? Again, you have to go to the true teachers to receive sound doctrine. Alright? It says in verse 7 here, he shall direct his counsel in knowledge, and in his secrets shall he meditate. And brothers are constantly meditating on this ministry, on the truth. You know? Part of being in this ministry is having that spirit of meditation and thinking about. You may not be reading the scriptures, but you might be driving in your car thinking about the truth, thinking about the scriptures, thinking about Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, thinking about the destruction, right? Thinking about the prophecies. You see? So it says in verse 8, he will show forth that which he hath learned, and shall glory in the law of the covenant of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Okay? He will show forth which he had learned, right? Pay it forward. Get on a channel. You know, do lessons on YouTube. Pay it forward. Like it says right here, he shall show forth that which he hath learned. Okay? Once you become a disciple first, right? And then you're an apostle, which the word apostle, it means to be sent away. To be sent away to do what? To be sent away to teach. That's what the word apostles, the disciples went from disciples to becoming apostles when Yahawashi went up on the cross, you see? Then those disciples, those men that were Yahawashi's disciples, they became Yahawashi's apostles, who were sent away for what? To teach. Okay? And you always had men throughout the whole history of mankind, you had men of the elect. You had men who had the truth. You had men who had sound doctrine. Because just like, you got to remember, Yahawashi had sound doctrine. He was teaching his disciples, who became apostles. So in that time, the gates would have been those disciples of Yahawashi. Okay? Those are the men, because there were still churches in Rome. There were still, different organizations that was teaching religions, right? But there's only those 12 disciples and the disciples of Yahweh Bashem Yahawashi that held the truth in that time. In every age, there's always the elect. There's always the real teachers. You got the fakes, and then the real ones. Okay, you got the false prophets and the true prophets. Okay, and if you don't have a spirit of discernment, or if you're not of the elect, you're not going to be able to determine or recognize which is which. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. I hope this lesson was edifying. And I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akia who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Is Shalom to the elect. Shalom.